Yes, welcome once again with our web development. Last time we looked onto how to create forms using input fields or input elements. We looked at the checkbox, the radio button, and then the input field as a text. Okay, we used placeholders among others. So allow me today to talk about some of the tags such as the select tag, the BHR tag, and then the HR tag. Okay, for breaking. Okay, so let us open and then we go back to our form. We go back here to our form. This is the form that we stopped with. Let me open in the browser and you see the previous results. This is what we had in our previous results. So what we want to do is to organize this form, having it to break it down, and then also having the guiding sections. For example, we should have a section for maybe gender, for guiding someone to go and select the gender or select the questions like that using an element known as the legend. Then at the same time, we may be having a list of options, but we choose one among the list of options. For example, the country, the city, among others. Or it could be any other thing, like still we can use the question units, okay? Let us dive into that, okay? Now, the first thing we are going to do is to break them down. For example, let me first add here another input field of password, for example. So I say here input, what type do we want to capture is password. The passwords are captured in password, not text, okay? So the name for this is password still. Nothing changes with this. I save. Once I go back here, I try to reload the page. We have the next input field known as the password, but it doesn't have anything to guide us. I'll go ahead and then I add the placeholder, like in the first one. So placeholder, I say enter password to guide the user. So enter password, enter password, enter password. Just like that. We save. When we go back to the browser, I try to reload the page. It is showing us here enter password. But look at this. Even if I take it back, I had zoomed it. But even if I take it back, you find that everything is on a single line. It is inline display. Okay. So we'd love to see all these kind of things going on the new line, new line, new line. We can use what we call a BR tag, known as the break tag, is represented by BR to break them down. So I'll go ahead at the end of each input field. For example, here I'll put a BR tag. On line 11, I'm typing BR. I tab. It gives me a BR, meaning break. When you first finish this first input field, please break and go to the next one. So let me try to reload and see. You see that whatever the enter password has gone at the bottom, but you still have the gender. Let us also try to do that. Gender starts from here. Gender starts from here. So we are going to break this. After the password, we put the BR tag, the same thing that we are doing, save. When you go back here, I try to refresh. You find that the gender has also gone to the next what? The next line. So we want to break away these questions away from this gender. So what we are going to do, we come here, we look from the first one here, line 15 is for the male, line 16 is for female. So after the last line 15 for female, we put a BR tag, okay? A BR tag. When I save, I go back to the browser. Whenever I make changes, please go to the browser, check if that change is effective, then you continue. If you don't check, you can mess out your code and it will be hard for you to trace that given error and for you to fix it. So I'll try to reload. When I reload, I see that even these questions that have gone at the bottom. That's number one. Now, let us put something that is guiding for the two, okay? Let us put something that is guiding for this different information. For example, we should see something like select gender above gender. So we use an attribute known as, we use an element, a form element known as the legend. So we are going to use here the legend. You are also my legends. So I put here select gender, like this. You want them to select gender, I save. Once you go back to the browser here, at the bottom of enter password, we must see something that is guiding, okay? I try to refresh here, we see that there is enter, select gender. What about selecting question units, okay? Still, I can use the same thing. After this BR for gender, I just put here legend, okay? Legend to guide our users on what to do. So I say select question units. So someone will go ahead and select course units. Okay, select the course units, I save. We go back here, I try to refresh, we are having select course units. So in this kind of manner. Now, what about if you want to use another input element, a form element that helps us to select a number of items that are already listed, for example, countries, cities, among others. We use what we call the select element. So I'm going to come here at the bottom here. Let us first put here maybe a legend to show us what we want to achieve. I just put here legend. Let us first break it a bit. Say BR that we want this one to be on the next line. Then I put a legend. And then I say select country. Select country. Okay. Select country. We are using the select option. Now at the bottom here, I'm going to use the select element. I say select tab like that. I save. But in this whatever, we have not put a number of options. So I save, I go back to the browser, I try to reload to see the changes. I see that I have select country, but in this I don't have anything. I don't have a list of options. So I'm going to put there a list of options so that it helps us to select a number of them. In between the select element, I'm going to type there the word options to pass the word option to pass a number of options in this. So what I'm going to do, for example, this is Uganda as the number one country. Say Uganda. We love our motherland, Uganda. So I select, I copy this, I paste. Then I try to change this. I change this to Kenya. I change this to maybe to Tanzania, the East African countries, Tanzania, like that. I save. Once I save, I have to put also the values for this. That this option stands for Uganda. So I put there value. So that once you submit the form, the value should be submitted as well. So here I will put Uganda. I'll just copy this. Copy, I put it here. That is for Uganda. What about the select for Kenya? I copy this. I put here value. I paste there Kenya. What about for Tanzania? We do the same for Tanzania. As we came here, we say value. We put there Tanzania. Like that, we save. Now let us go back to the browser to see whether we have these different options that we can select from. So I'll go back to the browser, try to refresh our browser. You see that even after selecting the country, shows you Uganda. So once I click on this arrow, the drop down arrow, it is showing me the different options. If I select Tanzania, it will show me Tanzania as a selected value. If I select Kenya, it will show me Kenya as a selected value. Okay? Then sometimes you want, when you load this page, you don't want this to be seen as the first option, but rather you want a free space there. So I can just go ahead here at the top here and I just create option without submitting any value. I say option without submitting any value. I save it. Once I save and I come here, I reload. You find that before you select anything, this select field is empty. So I first have to click on this on the drop down to select either Uganda to be active, or I select Kenya to be active, or I select Tanzania to be active. It could be a list of different options. As a bonus for today, let me show you an HR tag. The HR tag allows us to draw what we call horizontal lines. It could be separating different sections. For example, let us separate this first section to this section by using an HR tag. So the HR tag is just helps us to draw a horizontal line. Okay. So after the break, for example, after the break here, I can use HR. I tab. Enough. Save. When I come here, I try to refresh. You find that we have this horizontal line separating the select country from the upper section. Similarly, you can do it on these other ones. After the BR tag, we put there the HR tag like that. Tab. I save. Once I save, go back, refresh. You have that line that is separating that kind. So you can continue doing it like that, depending on what you want to achieve, ladies and gentlemen. Allow me to stop at this. Next time that we meet, we are going to talk about how to insert a video, and after that maybe we are going to be introducing our CSS. There are different elements that we can discuss in HTML. You can go ahead and explore more and more and more and more. But after achieving our structure, ladies and gentlemen, we must we must style our web page for it to be beautiful, to be attractive, putting colors, putting proper arrangement and layouts in the different methods that we can choose in order to achieve whatever we want. Allow me to stop at this. Let us meet next time. Bye bye.